for joining us, the Wealthy Retailer Podcast with your host, Dan Holman. Every episode, Dan dives into the retail headlines that matter to you, the independent retailer, covering topics ranging from retailer inventory, technology, marketing, retailers' questions, and more. The Wealthy Retailer Podcast is brought to you by Canadian Retail Solutions. Learn more at retailbycrs.com. And now, here's Dan Holman.
Hey everyone, good morning. Welcome to the Wealthy Retailer Podcast, a special edition. This week, the week of August 5th, we're doing a retail question only podcast this morning. Rob, we had three pretty good retail questions, sort of as we chatted about last week, that have been not clogging up, that's not the right way to say it, but have been sitting in our mailbag, not being
pleasantly coming in. And yeah, totally.
Oh man, keep them rolling. Dan at thewealthyretailer.com, send them all in. But we had these three questions that we thought, hey, let's just do one podcast that's just three questions, spend 20 or 30 minutes and see where we go in this this conversation. So
what I like is you're quick to tell everyone, and you do this, Dan, like you're a demon on the email. Like someone sends you a question, you answer it right away. But probably 99 times out of 100, there's other retailers out there who are experiencing the exact same challenge, or be it an opportunity. And and so just great to share the Q&A here.
And I
so what do you got, man?
Yeah, I think it's good to be able to share some of this stuff that, sometimes retailers are going to be shy to ask a question, or, you never want to put your hand up, being the one that doesn't know something. And listen, I am the first one to tell you, you can't hold yourself accountable for what you don't know. There's a lot we don't know. There's a lot that I don't know. And we use these questions as a way to perhaps even extract things that we maybe should know, maybe want to know, maybe need to know, or need to learn to know. And so I'm just going to start. We took this first question, came from Brent. And I don't know what city Brent is in, but Brent and I had a couple of emails back and forth. And his first question for me was, hey, Dan, can you offer some tips for a startup menswear retailer? Okay. And as I said to Brent, it's my belief, or maybe even proven theory, that the best success stories in retail contain similar plot lines, right? Think about a story. We've got these same plot lines. We've got these sort of milestones or check boxes. And so I threw five of what I feel are like my top 5 components to consider when not just starting a retail operation, but in the operation of a retail business. And so here's my 5. Number 1, you've got to have a vision. Now I sound like a broken record, but you've got to have a vision. Know where you want to be in 3 years, and then start working backwards to today. Each step of the way has to be evaluated, has to be measured, and has to be improved upon to gain traction towards your always moving forward target. And in our third question, I'm going to expand a little more on that vision. Point number 2 for me is that technology has to be your greatest ally. Ask yourself, what am I doing, or what am I planning to do, and how can tech simplify that? All right? For me, I'm going to say you got to start with a fully integrated POS/e-com platform.
Right out of the gate.
Out of the gate, you got to have that plan. And it needs to be early in the process, not an afterthought. And I'm going to warn or caution, don't choose the easiest platform. Choose a platform that has the ability to grow and evolve with the business. And I get asked this question, typically in trade shows, or whenever I'm in front of, the CRS umbrella representing point of sale. And I tell people the key to choosing the right platform is the recognition that it's the brain behind your business. It has to have the ability to dissect data in a manner that allows smart business decisions. By smart, I mean specific, measured or metric-driven, actionable, relevant, and time-bound analysis. Too many of these shitty cloud systems out there have no ability to dissect data to allow smart business decision making. Okay. And it has to be able to analyze what has happened and allow me to make decisions or predictions based on now what will happen. Last thing I'll say about POS is that you have to choose a platform that allows new technology to integrate easily. Tech moves so fast, man.
Yeah, no doubt.
So fast. We need our systems to be adaptable and scalable. Otherwise, they become freaking boat anchors overnight. I can tell you the host of people that we become engaged with that are using boat anchors in their business. You know, luckily, I mean, boat anchor is probably a pretty generous way to define the pieces of shit that POS is. Piece of shit, by the way. You know,
or like a concrete pier.
Yeah,
that
have no ability to analyze what has happened. They are glorified cash registers, and we've got to be able to allow it. And I said this in the beginning. You know, there has to be this point of recognition that my point of sale system is the brain in my business, right? It is my Google. It does a ton of things thinking for me that allow me to then act on better decision making for my business. We can be the smartest people in the world, but never be able to compute data the way your system does, to analyze it, to show you these clear light standards that are there, that are lighting the path to where you should be going. That comes out of POS data. And none of the great technology that we connect to our point of sale systems, you know, we're going to talk about the ManagementOne advantage in a minute, but none of that technology is at our fingertips or is accessible to us without a good point of sale system. Whew, okay. I'm gonna have to
Well said. Having a little chug of water while you think about that next.
Looks like water.
Looks like water. Nice.
All right, number 3. You've got to recognize that people are your greatest asset in starting and building a successful business. Any business, not retail, but any business. And as leaders, we have to adopt a mantra of delegation and elevation. Delegate and elevate to our unique ability. And each person in the organization has to follow this mantra: delegate and elevate. Delegate the things I'm not great at, and elevate to the place I belong, to the things I excel at. And that can only happen in our business when we hire better than we are today. Each person added to our business plan must bring something we don't have or aren't proficient at. If you're going to bring someone in and teach them everything you know, they will only know what you know. And you'll hit the ceiling, right? And this happens very quickly. We bring in people, we teach them how to do something and don't allow them to teach us, right? You got to be hiring way better than you are. And this is part of, I mean, you know, humility has to take over. You have to recognize that you're not the greatest batter on the team. You're not the greatest goal scorer, but you can contribute, and you've got to go and bring in that goal scorer. And if you don't bring in someone better than you, we only win the game based on the work you can put in. And as an entrepreneur, and, you know, here for Brent, man, as you get rolling, you're going to be wearing different hats all day long. And at some point, you've got to be prepared to stop changing hats. Put the hat on the right person that can move you forward. And that's, you know, recognizing that it's about people. It doesn't matter what kind of product you're carrying. You know, it doesn't matter the service you're providing. If you don't have the right people, no success path.
Well said.
All right. Number 4, Rob, probably more up your alley. Marketing, man. Brent, you got to have a budgeted plan to drive market share. Today, it is no longer location. And Brent and I actually had a couple of emails back and forth when we talked about location. It doesn't matter where you are. It's not about location anymore. I can buy traffic. I can steer traffic towards me. I'm not going to say that location's not important, that location isn't something to consider, but I'm going to say it is not the leading factor in choosing where to be. You can buy traffic by paying $50 a foot to be in the mall. Or you can spend that money to drive the right traffic to your store that is on Main Street or a block off Main Street, or, in that great new subdivision. And so marketing has to be, critical. And I'm going to say, what reinforces my theory, my belief that it's not location. Well, in the last 18 months, we've seen retailers, expand sales nationwide and beyond. It didn't matter where they were. We're seeing retailers today in, industrial hybrid locations where they're paying a significantly lower per square foot rate and fulfilling business, across the nation. So, we can see that. We have to look, and okay, I'm going to take a deep breath here.
Yep.
Important when you're building out your business plan that those two expenses are connected together, marketing and occupancy, right? They are a connected expense. The higher my occupancy, the lower my marketing budget can be. The higher my marketing budget, the lower my occupancy needs to be. Think about marketing dollars as being that car that gets people to your front door, right? If I'm going to pay way more in rent money, I don't need to market people. It is the expectation that someone else is driving the bus to my front door. And so in our business plans, we've got to keep those two expenses connected together and build from a budget. If you're not spending your budget, you're missing opportunity. If you're overspending your budget, you got to look, how do I scale that back? And then that becomes part of that POS analysis, or, any other marketing analysis that we can do in our business. There has to be a plan in place to drive traffic to our e-com site as well as our store. And that doesn't happen without money, right? You got to have a budget.
Is there a percentage range, Dan, like factoring those two together on your top line revenue that you guide your retailers with?
Yeah, 9 to 15. You need to be 9 to 15%. Occupancy often is in that 6 to 9, maybe it stretches to 11 or 12. And then marketing, what used to be 1 to 3%, is now a little bit higher. I'm more comfortable in the 3 to 5, quite simply because my fulfillment costs are going down. Not fulfillment costs, I shouldn't say that. My operating expense is coming down by fulfilling orders nationwide. I'm not paying as much, for the people I'm paying more to my people on the floor, but more of my traffic isn't coming from there.
Gotcha.
So, I'm looking for those spaces that allow me to fulfill my business nationwide at a little less, operating expense. So, let's get into that, 9 to 15% numberhood between those two, occupancy and marketing. And, you're going to be in a comfortable sort of benchmark place. All right. Last thing I want to say on this, we've got to be driving that traffic to our site. And that means that it is a Google as well as social strategy. More and more and more of our retailers are becoming influencers. And that is the key to a good retail business plan. Influence your audience, become that influencer. You maybe don't have to do the dance in your leggings or whatever, or the Applebee's shake or whatever the hell it's called. But, you are an influencer. You are out there in front of your audience and influencing their decisions. And spending money to get you in front of more and more and more people will pay itself back to you in revenue reward. Okay, number 5 for me, this, man. Cash is queen in our business. Your business can be catapulted forward or lag behind as a result of your cash position and your flow. You have to start right from the very beginning with a plan that focuses on cash growth ahead of all else. We need the ability to plan a business with a strategy that mitigates risk and maximizes opportunity. And our second retailer question of the day will dive deeper into merchandise intelligence and effective planning. But I'm going to repeat myself on this. Starting with a good cash flow plan above all else will lead to retail success. I was on a conversation this morning with a retailer that I would do anything for this retailer. I feel very strongly about her and her business.
Yeah.
And she's demanding growth. And I'm saying, you don't put sales ahead of cash. It is not about your top line sales. It's about your bottom line cash. If you first focus on cash, it will catapult your business forward. If you focus on top line sales and not on cash, the business will start to lag. Cash has to lead the path, man. It has to lead us. And that comes from having a good cash flow plan.
When you think, Dan, so here's Brent, true startup, on the capitalization side, the old, expect half the sale and double the expense going into it. When you think in that light, what advice do you have for Brent? Is it that simple?
It isn't that simple, in fact. And today, working with someone that is engaged in this circle that we're in, a retailer can come to me and say, this is the business I want to open, and I can lay a blueprint in front of them that says this is where expenses need to be.
Yeah.
Will you capture the sales? I can't foresee sales in a startup. I can't see that, but I can tell you what the expenses will be and where not what they will be, but where they should be. And so for Brent, as we sort of went back and forth on this, I did give him, here are the benchmarks for a menswear store. This is where revenue as a percentage has landed. And here's actually dollars and cents. This is where your merchant fees should be. And it at least gave him a place to start conversations with people, to go and talk to his, prospective landlord and say, my business plan that they taught me at the Alberta School of Business, said I was going to do $1 million in revenue and a 52% gross margin. Well, good on your business plan. Now let's look at what the real expense looks like. And let's look at half the sales. Maybe to your point, let's look at half the sales and see where those expenses land. All right.
When you think about that first point, Dan, of establishing that vision for who you are, what's your feeling of establishing who you are, but maybe equally who you are not? Out of day one, is that important, or just kind of stick to the who you are?
Well, I believe that by identifying who you are, you consequentially know who you're not. And there is some level of aspiration in your look forward plan. It's what I aspire to be. And that will adapt or change perhaps who you are, right? And so there is a point of recognition of who you're not, right? I'm a menswear retailer. I'm probably not carrying florals. I'm not a florist. I'm a menswear retailer. And then drilling down further and further and further, narrowing that, what does it mean to be a menswear retailer? Am I soup to nuts, or am I, better menswear? Am I fashion? Am I casual? Am I a blend of everything? And starting to tell a story about who you are is really important. And as I said, when we go back and answer Carol's follow-up question to a couple of weeks ago, she sent in one, I'm going to talk about what I truly believe in establishing a vision.
Awesome. Right on.
All right. Question number 2 came from a retailer. She is a home and gift retailer. Her name is Jessica. Okay. And Jessica said, can you share more details on inventory planning and the ManagementOne advantage? So here it is. I thought I was saying, hey, but here she called it the ManagementOne advantage. So she's hearing some good things out there.
Way to go, Jessica.
Yeah, right on. And Jessica, my daughter-in-law's name is Jessica. You got to love Jessica's. I believe so strongly in merchandise planning and the requirement to be one of the key tools in driving a retail business forward that I talk to as many people as I can about it. And, as I sort of said to Jess, she knows a little bit about it, but for those that don't, we ask ourselves, well, what do you mean when you say merchandise and retail planning? And I'd say, well, you can ask any 10 retailers that question and you'll get 10 different answers. Even if you ask a retail expert, what's merchandise planning, you're going to get 10 slightly different variations. I define merchandise planning as the systematic approach to maximizing a retailer's profitability, cash flow, and return on investment through accurate sales and inventory forecasting. When we put merchandise planning into action, it increases profitability by maximizing sales potential and minimizing losses from things like stockouts and markdowns. And as I talked about, in point two, in technology, we've got to have that. We've got to have that plan moving forward. And as I talk about in Cash is Queen, having a good plan that mitigates some risk and maximizes opportunity at a categorical level will catapult your business forward. And so that advantage, we are advocates of ManagementOne. I am a ManagementOne retail expert as defined by ManagementOne, have been for a very long time. Some of my, what I would call most admired retail experts are part of that ManagementOne family, and retailers, by the way. Some of the people that I admire most are ManagementOne retail experts, and the knowledge and the power that they've gained in understanding how to keep retail ticking is second to none. And so, the advantage that a tool like ManagementOne or service like ManagementOne provides is that it becomes this objective, data-driven voice that holds me accountable to my goal. It creates great measurement. Not only does it give me this great sales forecast, an accurate sales forecast, it tells me how much stock I need to achieve that, but then it measures itself accordingly. And that plan holds me accountable as a coach to a number that allows me to hold you accountable to a goal. You got to tell me what you want, and then we're going to use this tool to get us there. And that becomes the advantage. And so why is an advantage? Why shouldn't I just use some, $30 a month app that somebody created? Well, the power of ManagementOne is the size of the engine, right? It's looking at thousands of retail stores,
right.
Not just your store, right? The question I get asked frequently, how am I doing compared to others? How do I compare? Well, this gives us a comparative that says, here's where this category is performing across not just Dan's client base, but
everyone.
Almost, I don't want to say worldwide, but in more than 2 countries, right? Just think about us being in North America. And I know I'm going to get the pushback, well, my store in Southern Alberta isn't anything like a store in California. Bullshit. The difference is the weather. The difference is the access to inventory, maybe. But the store is the store. It's still selling a category of widgets. Whether it's tees or tops or tanks or jeans or hockey sticks or toys, it doesn't matter. We're still measuring it on that trend. And if their stock to sales ratio is a little bit different than yours, so be it. It still gives us this great data about how it should be performing. And there's nothing better than the size of that engine to be able to draw out that information. Very different than comparing yourself to just yourself.
Yeah, that's right. Huge.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, as I sort of talked to Jess, this really is this proven process. I'm going to call it a proven process that allows us to become better merchants, not just better buyers, but better merchants. And the ManagementOne advantage is that it's not just a technology tool. It's a technology tool that's attached to a retail expert, a board and certified retail expert, not just in the ManagementOne software, but that we are retailers at our core and have this great luxury, good fortune to work with so many other retailers that we pull the good out. We use best practice. And so leaning hard on that coach, that retail expert that brings objective guidance, data-driven, proof is in the pudding, truth only, not what I believe to be true, but what I can prove to be true with numbers, and someone that holds me accountable to achieve the goal that I want to achieve. That's the advantage. There's not another service or platform on the available today that has this exact same advantage. There are certainly other competitors in the inventory and merchandise intelligence space, but I'm going to say to you, there is not a collaborative environment greater than that of ManagementOne. It lives on my Slack channel. I can communicate with retail experts across the globe. I can talk to a planner in Ireland or in Brazil if I need to about what's happening there. Or I can talk to an affiliate that's doing a ton of work in Mexico or, in California or in Ontario or right here in Edmonton, Alberta. It is an advantage.
Yeah, I just zeroing in on that. It's not just about you, just getting that sense of benchmarks in comparative verticals and but just the power of that and just to guide you a little bit of hey, you really want to take a look at this. This is an opportunity.
Right. And when measured appropriately, see, this is the pushback that everybody has. So now, as Jessica did, she asked me about the cost. Instantly, her first thing was about how much does it cost?
Right.
It's the most backwards way to look at something. It's not about how much it costs. It's about what it gives me. What's my ROI? And ROI can be a quantified ROI or an unquantified return. I have a couple of really small retailers that by quantification shouldn't be on a plan. They really can't afford, the business maybe doesn't afford that for them. They're very small, but it is the accountability. It is the idea that we're going to grow. And I've shared this with you in the past. I started with a retailer that was just under $200,000 in sales. That's now 4 million. And it was not all because of the plan, but the plan led us down the path. It put the dot on the map in every category where we wanted to go. It told us where to expand and where to contract. And then we held each other accountable to those goals. And that's an advantage. So for Jess, when she asked me about price, I have this flippant, arrogant response. If you've got to ask, you can't afford it. If you've got to ask how much it is, you shouldn't be doing it. All right. And I actually said this to someone yesterday. If your only focus is how much it costs you, I'm not the best person for you to work with.
Right.
There's probably somebody else that's out there that will focus on cost. That's not what I do. The reality is, now I guess people might say, well, yeah, that's what everyone says that has an expensive product. But the reality is this costs pennies or less on an item that you bring into your store. You're bringing in $100 dress and then moaning about paying 2 cents for inventory planning. Come on.
Yeah. Because you can quickly turn this into, we'll talk about what you'll make.
Right. Like, let's figure out what the return
what it's going to cost. Yeah.
And as I talked about, a great plan mitigates risk. What I mean by mitigates risk, it stops me from overspending. It identifies where things need to change. And I don't walk into a vendor and place my same order as I did last year and add 10% to it, because I still have the shit I bought last year in my store. And had someone given me a kick in the ass and said, well, why would you buy that again? Maybe I wouldn't. Right. And that's part of the symbiotic relationship that happens. There is a back and forth. And you've heard me say this. You've echoed it, art and science. We bring science. You bring art. Let's put the two together to paint a really great picture.
Mic drop. We're mic dropping on that one. No, I love that. And actually, I was just going to bring that up again. That's let the retailer be the artist.
Right.
And this is you ManagementOne, the system come in and ground it all in the science of it all.
And it's not about restraint. It's not about constraining budget. It's not about reducing budget. It's about expanding on opportunity. Mitigate risk, maximize opportunity. I want my retailers to be chronic overbuyers, because then I want to teach them how to become better and better and better. And I'm a big believer. I said chronic overbuyer. That's maybe not exactly what I meant, but I am a big believer in buying deeper, buying thicker than than what I have today. If I don't have inventory, I can't capture a sale. I can tell you 5 companies this year that have gone bankrupt because they didn't have inventory to sell, not because they didn't have money to pay their expense. They didn't have anything to generate a sale. I love working with retailers that are a little bit over positioned in everywhere. They're a little bit plump because there's a pathway to the glory, man, to the light at the end of the tunnel. There's a pathway to profitability if you've got inventory. If you have this demonstrated reluctance to buy, you're an underbuyer, you're an underperformer. You will never reach your potential if you're not pushing yourself. And that's what this plan does. It pushes me. It plays offense.
Well, great question, Jessica. Thanks for that.
So I picked the mic back up on you there.
The mic back up. You pulled the
Jessica,
Columbo. You pulled the Columbo on me. You came at the door and you turned around. Oh, one more thing.
One more thing. Yeah. I've had a lot of great conversations with Jessica since she sent that question a couple of weeks ago. And
awesome.
Yeah. Anybody else has a question about planning? Dan@thewealthyretailer.com, and we can chat.
This podcast is brought to you by Canadian Retail Solutions. We've been empowering retailers across North America for 30 years with the latest in point-of-sale technology, best-in-class support, merchandise intelligence with open-to-buy planning, and much more. CRS has the retail solution to help take your retail business to the next level of success. Visit retailbycrs.com to learn more. Remember, Canadian Retail Solutions exists to help make you, the independent retailer, better.
We got a third question to review. It's coming back, right?
This is a follow-up. So a couple of weeks ago, Carol sent in a question. And one of the things I talked to Carol about in that was that, you've got to have a vision. And so Carol sends me a note. Hi, Dan. Thank you for the email and the tips you shared on your podcast. Can you expand on building my vision? Where do I start? And believe it or not, this is not an uncommon question. Where do I start? How do I start this? And so typically, vision is built around driving a business forward, breaking through that glass ceiling. But I believe that the best vision plan for an indie retailer begins with where they see themselves personally. We need to start from where your desire or needs are from the business. What do you want to get? And Rob, I'm a huge proponent of the EOS model by Gino Wickman. I use the entrepreneurial operating system in my business. I teach it, I implement it with other retailers. And usually when I engage with a retailer, I lean really hard on those tools and teach them how to use the tools contained in that EOS business management model. But I always start with where and what do you want to accomplish? Tuition, vacation, boat, financial freedom, right? What are you looking to get out of the business? Building a vision isn't about, I see myself with 10 stores. Well, great. That's a great BHAG goal. You want 10 stores. Now let's go figure out how to do that. It starts with, what do you want? What is it you need to get out of this business? Do you want to work 60 hours a week? Do you want to buy a new car? Do you have kids you want to put through college? What is it that you want to get out of it? And when we start from a place of, business, of the business owner, the entrepreneur, the retail owner, we then can build a pathway for them. The indie retailer has to be the main benefactor or the model doesn't work, right? And as Carol spoke about a couple of weeks ago, she was burnt out. She was feeling burnt out. And we avoid burnout by creating milestones in the owner's vision plan that inspires and energizes them to keep pushing forward, right? I'll wrap this up by saying your vision has to be created from a place that impacts you personally. Remember, you can't fill someone else's bucket if yours is empty.
Yep.
Right? Vision starts with, where do I want to be? If I want to be retired by the time I'm 55, what do I need to do? Okay, that's what I need. Now, how do I go and get that? And then, like I said to Brent, in our first question, you always start out there, out at the dot on the map, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever time frame it is, and we work backwards today. And then we build in 90-day chunks, continuing to move towards the business. Not daily, not weekly, quarterly chunks that allow us to reset, reassess, and keep pushing forward. And then we revisit, is that still my vision once a year, or has it changed?
Yeah.
Right? Now I went from being on the Freedom 55 plan to the Freedom 95 plan. What am I going to do? Right? How do I adjust?
Yep. So finding that balance, that, as you said, it's not just 10 locations, like the physicality of your business, but, personal, the family, the financial goals, the lifestyle goals, and just wrapping that all in, because they all are gonna find themselves woven together.
Right. And we live, Rob, in a lonely world as retail entrepreneurs, right? We aren't typically surrounded, by a board of people catapulting us forward. Everything happens on my back.
Yeah.
Right. And to the degree I go and delegate and elevate, I can grow the business. But if I don't, the business doesn't go anywhere. Yeah. And so for me, when I talk to a solopreneur or a husband and wife team, I say, okay, hang on a second. Before you go and implement this for your business, let's implement something personally. Where do you want to be? And then how do we get there? You see, if you're the solo operator in your store and your desire is to be retired, well, don't you have to replace yourself? That has to be part of the vision. And in replacing yourself, are you going to leave and not take a paycheck? Or do you want to continue taking your paycheck and then pay someone else 150 grand to come in and be you? Well, now we got to find the 150 grand.
Yep.
Right? And it's not find, it's plan. It's not find. It's not a needle in a haystack. It's not a scavenger hunt. It's a plan that gets us there. Here's how we're going to do this. Methodically move through this plan to achieve first your personal goal that then allows you to continue achieving your corporate goal or your company goal.
Yeah.
You are the only one that drives this ship forward. And us enabling through delegation and elevation, we enable others to be part of our journey. Right? But it's not their journey. It's our journey. We're the ones that put the skin in the game here.
Is it fair to say, Dan, that over all your years, the hundreds, if not thousands of retailers you've worked with, that the ones who are really good at this activity, this ongoing vision building, are indeed the ones that are the most successful?
They're the ones that are working 30 hours a week in their business. No question. No question. And 30 is probably a stretch. They're probably working less than that. And so for me, even in my business, I have a personal vision in my business. And, I get up every morning to work with clients. And it's not I have to, it's I get to, right? It's what I want to do. And that is part of my vision plan, personal vision plan with CRS. I had to put a leader, a day-to-day leader in place so that I could continue doing what I love to do. What I feel like, what I believe I'm good at doing, right? That's part of delegate and elevate. But I had to create that plan in the CRS business to accept a day-to-day leader and accept me leaving and only sitting as the visionary CEO, right? That allows me to then steer most of my focus to what I want to do, what I get to do, what I love to do, that for me isn't work.
Right on. Well, thanks for sharing these this week, Dan. How do folks keep connected or get other questions to you?
Dan at thewealthyretailer.com. You can search out The Wealthy Retailer on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. I don't know where else we are. On all of those places, you can find The Wealthy Retailer. You can head over to thewealthyretailer.com. You can send an email to Dan at thewealthyretailer.com. Any question, any topic, whatever it is, it's all fair game.
Right on. Thanks for joining us this week, folks. And if you haven't yet, head to retailbycrs.com. Sign up for that newsletter. Each week we got the headlines that come out, all the connection, all these great, I'll say, learning videos. They're just the opportunity to reinvest back in yourself as that retailer who needs that little recharge, a little new guidance, some inspiration. And boy, there's a ton of it there. So be sure to check that out. And if you can, please share the podcast where able. Give us a like and a share, and have a great day.
Yeah,
thanks, Dan.
Happy retailing, everyone.